You've seen them at the zoo, slow, calm, eating hay while children press their faces against the glass. You've seen them in documentaries, gentle giants, mourning their dead, raising their young in tight family units. That image is real. It is also massively, dangerously incomplete. The elephant standing in that enclosure weighs up to 14,000 pounds. It can run at 25 miles per hour. It has a memory that spans decades, and it kills hundreds of people every single year. More than lions, more than leopards, more than any other large land predator on the African continent. It does not do this because it is misunderstood. It does this because it is the largest land animal on Earth, and it has very good reasons. Let's establish the physical reality first. An African bush elephant, the largest living land animal, stands up to 13 feet tall at the shoulder and weighs between 10,000 and 14,000 pounds. Its tusks can reach 10 feet in length and weigh over 200 pounds each. Its trunk alone is a structure of extraordinary muscular complexity, capable of lifting a felled tree or picking up a single coin from the ground. When an elephant charges at full speed, it generates a collision force that no vehicle short of an armored truck is designed to survive. It can flip a Land Rover. It has. Repeatedly. The stomp is less cinematic but equally final. An elephant foot is roughly the size of a manhole cover. The pressure it exerts during a full weight step on a human body is not survivable. These are not edge cases. These are the baseline physical parameters of an animal that shares its habitat with millions of people across Africa and Asia every day. What makes those numbers harder to process is how quietly they translate into violence. There is no venom, no fang, no claw. The elephant does not have the anatomy of a predator. And that is precisely why people underestimate what it can do. What it has instead is mass, momentum, a skeletal structure built to carry its own weight across miles of terrain every day. When that structure is directed at you, the physics are not negotiable. A charging elephant is not fast in the way a lion is fast. It is fast in the way a freight train is fast. The scale removes the option to react. The numbers are larger than most people realize. In Africa, elephants are responsible for an estimated 500 or more human deaths annually. In India alone, government data consistently records between 400 and 500 elephant-related human fatalities each year, primarily farmers and villagers whose agricultural land overlaps with elephant corridors. These are tracked federally. The pattern is consistent, year after year. To put the African figure in context, lions are responsible for an estimated 20 to 100 human deaths per year globally. Leopards, fewer still. People take selfies with elephants. People pay to ride elephants. People build sanctuaries around elephants and describe them as gentle souls. The disconnect between the perception and the death toll is one of the most consequential mismatches in wildlife risk assessment. What that pattern reveals is not random predation. Elephants are not hunting people. They are moving through landscapes they have used for thousands of years, and finding, increasingly, that humans have built on top of those corridors. A herd following a migration route does not stop because a village appeared in the path. It passes through. And if anyone is standing in the way at the wrong moment, the outcome is determined by physics, not by intention. This is what makes human-elephant conflict so difficult to resolve. The elephant is not malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what elephants have always done. It is the landscape that changed, and the people living in that landscape who absorb the consequences. There are two types of elephant charges, and most people cannot tell them apart until it is too late. The mock charge is a display. The elephant fans its ears, raises its head, and rushes towards you, then stops. It is communicating. It is saying, "You are too close. Leave." The real charge is different. The ears pin back, the head drops, the trunk tucks under. The elephant is not communicating anymore. It has already decided. The real charge reaches 25 miles per hour in open terrain. In bush or forested areas, by the time you hear it, the distance is already gone. Experienced rangers describe the sound of a real charge as something you feel before you hear. A subsonic vibration through the ground that arrives ahead of the animal. By the time your brain has processed that signal, you have approximately 3 seconds. Most people, in those 3 seconds, freeze. It is not a failure of courage. It is a documented human response to stimuli that exceed the threat threshold the nervous system was designed to handle. The brain receives information it cannot contextualize fast enough, and the result is paralysis, in the exact moment when movement is the only option. In Zimbabwe's Hwange National Park, a professional safari guide with 15 years of experience was killed during what witnesses described as a sudden, unprovoked charge from a bull elephant at the edge of a clearing. No mock charge preceded it, no warning display. The animal simply accelerated from stillness. 3 seconds. Musth is a biological state that most people have never heard of, and it is one of the most dangerous conditions in the animal kingdom. Bull elephants, adult males, enter musth periodically, typically once per year, for periods lasting weeks to months. During musth, testosterone levels in a bull elephant rise dramatically, sometimes to many times their baseline. A thick secretion called temporin oozes from glands on the sides of their head. They become unpredictable, aggressive, and capable of attacking without the triggers that would normally precede an attack. An elephant in musth will charge vehicles. It will destroy infrastructure. It has killed other elephants, including members of its own herd. There is no safe distance from a bull in full musth in open terrain. Wildlife managers in India and Sri Lanka operate explicit no-approach protocols for musth bulls. Protocols that are not always possible to follow when the animal is moving through inhabited land. In some documented cases, musth bulls have followed the same road through a village repeatedly over multiple days, and the only viable response was to wait, to close the doors, to stay inside and hope it passed. In Pilanesberg National Park, South Africa, young bull elephants in musth killed dozens of white rhinoceroses over a period of months in the mid-1990s. Animals that share no natural predator-prey relationship with elephants. The behavior was attributed entirely to musth-induced aggression and the absence of older bulls to regulate the younger males. In 2022, a bull elephant in musth killed 3 people in a single week in the Chitwan district of Nepal, including a farmer on his own land and a man collecting firewood less than 300 meters from a village. The animal had been seen peacefully grazing in the area for years. The cases that define this animal's relationship with humans share a pattern that is difficult to absorb. In 2011, a wildlife filmmaker working in Kenya's Laikipia region, years of experience, standard approach distance, was killed during what colleagues described as a sudden attack from a herd he had worked near before. In 2016, a tourist was killed near Kariba, Zimbabwe, when an elephant charged the vehicle she was traveling in during a sanctioned safari. The guide had operated the same route for years without incident. In 2019, a mahout, an elephant handler, was killed by his own elephant at a temple in Kerala, India. The animal had been in captivity for over 20 years. It had worked festivals, carried tourists, and been described by handlers as calm and well-trained. In recent years, researchers conducting long-term fieldwork in elephant country have been killed by animals from herds they had studied for years, animals they knew individually, whose behavior they had documented across thousands of hours of observation. The attack gave no warning that witnesses could identify in retrospect.
Coming.
The pattern across these cases is specific. Experienced people, known animals, no prior warning, fatal outcome. Elephants remember. This is not a metaphor or a folk saying. It is documented neurological fact. Elephants have the largest brain of any land animal. They possess a hippocampus, the region associated with long-term memory and spatial navigation. That is among the largest relative to body size of any mammal. They recognize individual human faces. They recognize individual human voices. They can identify a specific person's smell. And they hold grudges. Research published in behavioral ecology journals has documented elephants that were poached or harassed returning to the same locations years later and targeting humans specifically, not randomly, but with behavioral patterns consistent with directed aggression toward the source of prior trauma. In areas of Kenya where significant poaching occurred in the 1970s and 1980s, researchers have documented elevated aggression in elephant populations toward humans that persists across generations, passed down through herd behavior and matriarchal memory. The elephant did not forget what happened to its family. It has been waiting in a body that weighs 7 tons. What makes this particularly significant is what it implies about the nature of the danger. Most dangerous animals operate on instinct. They respond to immediate stimuli without a narrative connecting past to present. An elephant is different. An elephant can carry a specific experience forward across years and decades, integrating it into behavior that looks, to outside observers, like something very close to intent. Whether it is intent in any meaningful cognitive sense remains debated. What is not debated is the outcome. Here is what researchers and elephant behaviorists still cannot reliably predict. Individual elephants, even well-studied ones in long-term research programs, can exhibit sudden, severe aggression with no observable trigger. Not musth, not harassment, not territorial encroachment. The behavioral literature calls these incidents unprovoked attacks. But that label may say more about the limits of human observation than about the actual internal state of the animal. We can monitor musth. We can track herd stress indicators. We can observe social dynamics. What we cannot do is model what a 7-ton animal with a decades-long memory, a complex social hierarchy, and documented capacity for grief and trauma is thinking. The uncertainty is not a gap that better research will easily close. It is structural. We are observing a cognitive system we do not fully understand in a body we cannot survive contact with, making decisions faster than we can respond to. You are not being asked to stop finding elephants remarkable. They are remarkable. The mourning rituals, the cross-species empathy, the multi-generational social bonds, these are real, and they matter. But they exist inside an animal that is also 14,000 pounds of muscle and bone, moving at 25 miles per hour, capable of memory-based targeted aggression, subject to hormonal states that eliminate inhibition entirely, and responsible for more human deaths each year than most people realize. The gentleness is real. So is everything else. We have spent generations building sanctuaries, funding conservation programs, and teaching children to love elephants. And we should keep doing all of it. But somewhere in that effort, the conversation stopped, including the part about what elephants actually are, what they can do, what they have done, and keep doing, at a rate that no other large land animal on Earth matches. The hundreds of people who died last year were not unaware that elephants are gentle. They just forgot, for a moment, that gentle is not the same as safe.